All right, and we're back, and we're going to be talking about Doc Ock and why exactly it seems like he's helping Peter. Well, not his Peter, but he's helping Tom Holland Peter Parker to essentially either send all the villains home or find a solution where he doesn't have to go back to Spider-Man 2 and essentially die. Because what we see in the trailer essentially is that when Peter reveals himself, he's like, holy shit, you're not Peter Parker. But one of the things that I never realized, which is from here, during Spider-Man 2, he only realized that Spider-Man was Peter Parker after he was beaten in that fight. Where he runs up and he's trying to like get his attention. He takes off the mask and boom. It's like Peter Parker. Brilliant but lazy. And like he's surprised. So this version of Doc Ock, if he was pulled from his time stream, I'm wondering exactly when he was basically pulled from his time stream during his redemption. But here's one of the things that we need to remember, and that has everything to do with the arms. Because if you remember from Spider-Man 2, the arms run on a type of artificial intelligence that is faster and smarter than Otto himself. As a result, he had an inhibitor chip at the back of his neck to make sure that they didn't control him. Essentially, all the villainous acts that he permeated in Spider-Man 2 were because the arms were pushing him to essentially finish their purpose. And their purpose was to essentially create that energy source, that sun. They kept pushing him and pushing him, pushed him to steal, pushed him to build it, pushed him to finish his project. And at the end of it, he was able to essentially exert some level of control over the arms and get them for himself. Now, one of the more interesting thing in this is when he first shows up, if you look at the arms, there's no red. But eventually, when he does get Peter, we see that there's red on the arms. And I want to say that's the nanites from the Stark tech. It's highly possible that, remember, Peter's suit essentially has an artificial intelligence inside of it. It's possible that once the nanites got onto his arms, the artificial intelligence inside of Peter's suit starts to undo the artificial intelligence inside of Doc Ock's arms. So he essentially gets his faculties back again, where he's no longer being controlled by them and he no longer wants to kill Spider-Man because he's preventing him from finishing his mission. And there's another really good scene where he's willingly inside of essentially like that box right here, where I don't even think it's a box. It's just inside like a room in like this wrecked part of town, and he's essentially talking to them. And I'm assuming this is where he essentially explains that, yeah, I'm from a different world. On my world, Peter Parker was like, hey, my college student. And I tried to create a power source that rivaled the sun. It kind of got out of hand. The arms took control of me. I became evil. And I really need you guys' help to, like, send me back. And I think it's a little bit further ahead. Because the arm, like, for instance, before the arms would act on their own, they would essentially act without his control. Like right here, where it comes out of the water, it retakes control, and it instantly goes in for the attack, like on his own. And then he had to essentially work mentally to get them under control, to have them fall back and listen to him. But they were disagreeing with them. They had like their own personality. In this scene, it's not like they have their own personality. Wherever he's looking, the arms are looking. So it definitely shows me that in this scene with the Stark nanites on them, he has control and they're basically responding to his own bodily movements. Now, there's another scene. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Is it against Electro? God, I love this trailer so much. He's also the one that explains that essentially they're fighting ghosts, villains that Spider-Man has essentially defeated and killed, like himself. And another thing that people have to remember is the Doc Ock from the end of Spider-Man 2 he's essentially depressed because at the beginning of the movie, his wife had died, and essentially he sacrifices himself to save New York and dies to be with her. So it wouldn't shock me if the Doc Ock that we're seeing in No Way Home is essentially the exact same way, where he's just tired. He's over it. Like, he doesn't feel like doing this whole villainy shit anymore. The arms were essentially controlling him. The Stark tech might have stopped them from being able to talk to him. He has control of the arms again, and the dude is just ready to go back to his universe and die, essentially, so that he can end up with his wife, which is kind of sad. He definitely has, him and Sandman, in my opinion, definitely have the two saddest origins out of all the Spider-Man villains, because for Sandman, all he wanted to do was essentially save his daughter, who's suffering from a terminal illness. And then for Doc Ock, all he wanted to do was create an energy source that would, like, end world hunger and a lot of the other bullshit going on out there in the world. And everything for them just goes completely wrong, and they lose the people that essentially they love the most. Now, there's definitely a scene that seems as though it's spliced right here. This is the scene that I'm talking about. So he has Peter, and this is definitely the Iron Spider suit that Tony gave him. It's made up of nanites, but then in the very next scene, the nanites get on the claws itself. And it seems as though it's from this point that he's no longer being controlled by the arms. And he is now functionally back to his normal self, which is a good guy. Here, so he gets blasted by Electro, essentially. Like, it looks like he's coming up the build. Like, okay, so Electro says, "You're not gonna take this away from me." Now, we would have thought that he was definitely talking about Spider-Man. Doesn't look like he's talking about Spider-Man. When he says, "You're not gonna take this away from me," it sounds as though he might be talking to Doc Ock, who's basically working with Spider-Man to send them all back to where they came from. And for Electro, this is essentially like his second chance, where he doesn't die at the end of the confrontation, and he would like to continue living in this world where he has that second chance. So of course he does what Electro does, and he blasts Doc off with a gigantic bolt of lightning, which seems to have knocked him off the tower. But and then of course we get William Dafoe's Goblin talking in the background. But yeah, I think Doc Ock is going to show up, be a villain for maybe about 5-10 minutes. The Stark nanites are definitely going to get on the arms itself. When the Stark nanites get on the arms, it shuts down the arms AI from communicating and overriding Otto Octavius's brain, which basically turns him into like the good Otto from the beginning of Spider-Man, well, from the beginning and the end of Spider-Man 2. And then from there, he's working with Peter to essentially find a way in order to send everybody home, because essentially he wants to also go home and just die. But at the same time, the other villains who are being sucked into the world definitely don't want to go home and definitely don't want to die. So they definitely want to kill Otto and also kill Peter. But we'll see. As with anything, you know, it's all theories, it's all speculation. The movie is definitely not out yet, but I am so fucking pumped. Give me this movie, man. Holy shit. It's so we're right there. We're like a month out. Yeah. This wait is gonna be absolutely freaking horrible. And like I said before, I really hope that they don't do another trailer. I'd 100% be fine if this is the final trailer, because we really don't need to see a trailer where Andrew and Toby show up. We can just wrap this up right here and let this carry us like the rest of the way. Because if I remember correctly, like, this is the IGN trailer, which is at like 5 mil, but the main trailer on the Marvel account has like 60 something million views already. But just ride that trailer right into the movie. You don't need to give us anything else. We're fine right here. But if you made it to the end of this video, thank you very much for watching. If you are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button. and I will catch you in the next one.